Thank you, and I just wanted to announce that Board Member Michael Thompson is excused from this meeting for business travel. We wish him good and safe travels. On to item number 2 is public participation. If you would like to speak on an item, please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we will close public participation and go on to item number 3, which is Thorntons Ferry Elementary School recipient of the Joseph Middlemiss Big Heart Foundation Buddy Bench Gift Program. I invite to the table Bridie Bellamere, Principal of Thorntons Ferry, Julie DeLuca, Vice Principal, Fern Seiden, and then Jennifer and Michael Hutchinson.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. We're very fortunate that Michael and his mom, Jennifer, were able to be with us tonight, as some of the passion that led to us being in receipt of the Buddy Bench came from the Hutchinson family, and they'll share a little bit about that with you this evening. Fern Seiden, our school counselor, is here to kind of frame a little bit about the Buddy Bench for those of you that may not be familiar with the concept or how the Buddy Benches are implemented nationally. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Seiden.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. I also want to recognize the Hutchinsons for coming tonight. Michael is a 3rd grader at our school. He is also a Cub Scout, and his parents are den leaders. And I just wanted to mention that Michael gave up going to the holiday party that is scheduled for tonight in order to come here, and I thought his response today, I asked him about that today, and he said that he had been to 2 of those before, but he had never done this. And I thought that was a really wonderful sort of orientation to trying new things that I wanted to share tonight, because it's really wonderful that they're here. So they really are the reason why we're moving forward with this Buddy Bench in this way. And so the first thing I thought I would do is just explain what a Buddy Bench is, and then have them speak a little bit about how we got here tonight. So a Buddy Bench is pretty simple. As you can see, it's a bench, and it is marked as a Buddy Bench, and it's a place where a student can go on the playground and sit if they are feeling lonely or looking for somebody new to play with. On our Buddy Bench, you'll see there's our school mascot is the Buddy, who is our school mascot, which happens to be a coincidence and a good one for us. He is on our bench and in the circle with the 3 words that are part of our PBIS, or Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports Program: safety, respect, and responsibility. And the heart is part of the Joseph Middlemiss Foundation's, their logo. So both the logos are on there. And so that's in a nutshell what a Buddy Bench is. So with that, I'll talk more about what this Buddy Bench will mean for us in a bit, but I wanted Mrs. Hutchinson and Michael to have an opportunity to share how we arrived at this wonderful moment tonight.
So thank you for having us. We're very excited. The Joseph Middlemiss Big Heart Foundation was a foundation that was established for a little boy, Joey Middlemiss, who passed away due to cardiomyopathy, which is an enlarged heart. So he passed away about 3 years ago at the age of 6. And in his memory, to help with the legacy of the idea of having such a big heart, although that ultimately was what killed him, it also really represented who he was and what the parents' opportunity was to continue to spread kindness and to have that big heart. So with that, they've started this foundation, and one of the pieces that they do is this Buddy Bench of nominating to different school districts. I have the opportunity of working with his father, who's an administrator in Westford, Massachusetts, where I also work. And I've seen the impact that it has had on children within the playgrounds at the different schools in our community. And I thought how awesome it would be to bring that to my own children's community. So having students at a couple of the different buildings here in town, Michael has truly benefited from the support that he's received through the guidance department at Thorntons Ferry. Fern has been amazing in working with Michael, and Michael is one of those people that sometimes can have challenges at recess and certainly could use that support. So I thought this would be a great opportunity. So we were pleased. We nominated the school last May, and pleased to find out in November that they were selected for the December bench.
The Joseph Middlemiss Big Heart Foundation is an organization that teaches kindness. Our school is nice and kind, respectful, and safe. I think when we have the buddy bench, when kids are feeling down or left out, maybe someone can go and help them. Someone might come, and maybe even more people could come, and it could be like Foursquare on the playground. If I saw someone on the buddy bench, I would go and ask them if they were okay and then maybe play.
Are you excited that it's coming?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michael. And we were noticing how he mentioned that he would go and say, "Are you okay?" Not the assumption that the child would want to play right at that moment, but just going and checking in with the student who's sitting there. And I love that idea as this bench becomes another tool on our playground. So we really are looking forward to continuing this legacy of this wonderful foundation, and we really thank you so much for that. So once we learned that we were nominated for this award last spring, the Buddy Bench became a focus of our PBIS team. Again, that's the Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports program that we've had for about 14 years. And it became a focus, and we explored what this would mean for our playground practices and our school climate. This program, PBIS, helps shape our school culture by clearly defining behavioral expectations around 3 important principles: safety, respect, and responsibility. And as a school community, we work to promote these principles within each classroom and across the school. And so the bench fit in nicely to that piece of our school culture that already existed, and it became a great part of our school to talk about that. We talked about how it fit also nicely in with the focus on empathy and compassion within the second step social emotional curriculum that we have been rolling out across the school as well. The kids are taught from the time they're in first grade that empathy and compassion are related, and that compassion is empathy in action. So I thought that would be a nice way to think about this Buddy Bench. We also are a school that's really focused on problem solving. That also is part of the second step curriculum, but it's something that we do all the time and talk about all the time. And we talked about how this would align well with that. The bench is just going to be another solution among many for learning about how to help others and how to ask for help from others, which I think is important. Once we heard that we were chosen to receive the bench, the Universal team of the PBIS program sought out a partnership with the Student Council, and Michael is actually a member of the third grade delegation of the Student Council. And we invited the Student Council to develop a plan to roll out the bench, and have already begun a conversation with this group of student leaders about ways to have the bench be part of an even larger conversation about compassion, kindness, fairness, and inclusion at Thorntons Ferry. They will be planning a school-wide assembly and other events to roll out the implementation of the bench with a focus on the relevance of these values to our community. We envision the bench becoming an integral part of our school culture and see it as an opportunity to reinforce so many of our values and beliefs, positive ways to show compassion, to solve problems, to seek help, and to empower student leadership. And, of course, the 3 core values of our PBIS program: safety, respect, and responsibility. So we're very, very excited and very grateful for this opportunity, and we hope you all have a chance to come down and see it on our playground.
So as Ms. Seiden indicated, what ties this gift in so nicely with our school community and our culture is that it exemplifies the very meaning of student voice and the power of student voice and leadership. And it was very interesting when we went to present this opportunity to our student council body, the ideas that they came up with that we hadn't even thought about, location. So for example, we have an upper and a lower playground, And they said, well, what playground will it go on? And then half the student population may not have access to it. And they were already problem solving before we actually have even been in receipt of this gift and determining a location. So we're very fortunate that our students take such great pride in our school community, and Michael is one of those leaders. So, Michael, I thank you for being a part of this, and Mrs. Hutchinson, thank you for the nomination. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them at this time.
I'll open it up to the board. Any questions or comments? Andy?
So I'd certainly like to thank Ms. Hutchinson for the nomination and Michael for speaking out. This was great. Being a parent of 3 kids that I've sent through the schools district, but one of them that had trouble with socialization and stuff, the concept of a buddy bench would have been extremely invaluable. But I think it's interesting for me to see somebody who's gone through the system but look now at sort of what supports are in place and what kind of programs are there to help students like him. It makes me feel real good to be part of this, because 12 years ago that didn't exist in the same way that it does now. So I would definitely love to come out and see where it ends up being, you know, whatever the students decide, because I think it'll be valuable. And I'd love to see the same concept in the other schools, even though it might not be an awarded buddy bench, but the concept to be carried across, even at the upper grades, because a lot of times we think elementary, that's where it'd be advantage. But middle school, I mean, anybody sends a kid through middle school, that's probably the most difficult as far as socialization. So a way to address that would be really good too. So thanks, this is really good.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Cinda?
I would also echo the thanks. Taking the leadership, it's a big step, Michael, and really appreciate the work that you've done, and Mrs. Hutchinson regarding this. It's to teach kindness, and you know, it starts at such an early age, and the empathy is just fantastic. I'm really excited to see and hear about how this works out, because I think it's a really neat concept, and I agree with Andy. I'm proud that we're doing this in the district, and it's a great idea, and thanks and all of that. But as just a point of procedure for us, should I make a motion then that we should accept the buddy bench? And then
Because it has a monetary value, I think that would be appropriate.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the buddy bench.
And do we have a second? Seconded by Naomi. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. The motion carries 4-0-0. And in closing, I do want to thank you very much. I do have to say that Thornton's Ferry is riding very high as the elementary school of the year, and I think that the collaboration with families is something that we can see tonight in action. It just shows that we're still thriving for excellence in everything we do, and that you have thought of Thornton's Ferry as a home where you want to make even more improvements too. Shows, I think, the commitment from families, parents, and students to make Thornton's Ferry better every day, and it's definitely an example we can take throughout the district. So, Michael, thank you very much. You did a wonderful job, by the way, and we look forward to seeing the buddy bench very soon. So, thank you very much. And I think some of us will be staying, and we have item number 4. And hopefully you can catch a little bit of that party later, Michael. I'm not sure. But we have Thornton's Ferry Elementary School firefighter for the day visit. So we will welcome back Bridie Bellamere. We will also welcome Assistant Fire Chief Brian Borneman, Yahira Duke. I'm hoping I do this right. Duque. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And Emily Duque. So the floor is yours.
So, as most of you are aware, we had a home fire safety coloring contest. Our fire inspector, our new fire inspector, couldn't be here tonight, but kind of was a driving force with this. With at a leadership meeting back in September, we had talked about different ways that we can get a fire safety message out to as many people as possible where it's going to have the most impact. So we approached the schools at the leadership meeting about a coloring contest that we would do with all the elementary schools. We'd send home some fire safety messaging and kind of a little bit of homework to get the kids maybe to push mom and dad at home to do some of the, to test the batteries, ways out of your house, your escape plans, and those kinds of things. So we did that in October. We sent home through the schools, the help of the schools, approximately 1,400 or 1,500 of the entry flyers. We got approximately 350 to 400 of those back from the 4 elementary schools. A few of us at the station narrowed that down to probably 5 or 6 from each school, and then the firefighters voted on the winners. And the reason we're here tonight with Thornton's Ferry is Emily Duque was the first winner from Thornton's Ferry Elementary School. And what that means was she got to come we went to the school, picked her up in a fire truck. She got to be an honorary firefighter for the day. We brought her back to the station where she got to meet the chief. She got an official ID badge. Her and her dad were given a tour of the station. And then she got to have lunch with the firefighters, ask some questions and interact, and then we sent that. She got to ride back to the school at the end of that. So it was during the lunch block. I think we probably ran over a little bit, but another student's been in fact, all 4 schools, there was a winner. The next 2 winners will be in the next 2 days, and we'll be done. We plan on having this as a annual event, and then the winning entrants, the 4 of them, are going to be on display at the fire station for a year until next year, when we hope to have 4 more winners. So we're hoping that when Emily talks to all her friends and the other winners talk to their friends, that we'll have more participation, at least in the contest. I think if we got 400 back, I would imagine we probably had 800 conversations at homes, at least, to talk about that fire safety message. So I want to thank Marge and the leadership for the principals for allowing us to do that and to get that message out. But we couldn't have done that, had that kind of impact without the cooperation with the school. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, we feel equally as fortunate to have the partnership that we do with the fire department. It just so happened that the day that Emily returned to Thornton's in the fire engine, myself and Mrs. DeLuca were just returning from a meeting, so we all pulled up in the circle together, and we had an opportunity to talk to Emily and her father, who had attended with her that day, and saw her badge, and I walked her to class, and it was like a celebrity just rolled into the classroom. The students just circled around her, and everyone was firing questions and wanted to see her badge. So it was a really exciting day, not just for Emily, but she had much to share to her classmates, with her classmates rather. So Emily actually wrote a story, wrote a little book about her experience, and she came down last week to my office and shared it with me, and she has it with her this evening that she would like to read to you. But she's here with Mom, who was not able to attend, but who's a great support, and Emily has a few things that she thought she might like to share with all of you about her experience.
Okay, read it to me. Don't just look at me. Go ahead. So you were excited on your day. Go ahead.
At the fire station, I got to ride on the fire truck. They gave me a tour of the station. I ate pizza with the firefighters. I ate 2 pieces. I felt nervous, then I felt happy.
Okay. So was the experience nice? And you got to meet all the firemen? And while you were there, what happened? Did they get a call?
Yes, they had to leave. and it was an emergency, but I was going back to my school.
And you
But
got
when-
to see them get dressed?
And when they were coming back, I waved.
Good job. Good job.
What was really special, and you can't see the picture, but on the last page of Emily's story, she said, at first I was nervous, but then I felt, what's the word that you said? You were happy? And you can see the expressions of nervous. She actually drew in the expression of nervous versus happy, and that's something that they talk about in the Second Step program, too, about just being in tune to that emotional awareness, and that feelings can kind of change our opinion on things sometimes. And so nervous turned into a really positive experience. So I thought that was pretty cool, too. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board? And you started out nervous too, but you were happy with it. You did a very good job. So just want to let you know that. So any questions from the board? I just want to say welcome to you for introducing a great program. I think we have done so much with the police over the years based on the design of what we do every day. And we're looking forward to expanding the relationship with the fire department. I think we always have the emergency drills and all that, but you definitely are getting involved with the students, and I think that will give them a very good, I think it's just going to pay dividends across the community. So thank you so much for taking the initiative to work with us, and we definitely appreciate the partnership as well. So thank you very much, and you did a wonderful job. I hope you had a really good time.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank
And now we're getting to the more boring part of our evening, but still, very important. Not as cool as fire trucks, I'm sorry.
You say that before Dave comes.
I know, but there's nothing as cool as fire trucks. There really isn't. So we're going to go to our formal hearing for our food service budget for 2017 and 2018. And I do welcome Dave Zeke of the food service department to the table. You'd ride the fire truck too if you could, though, right?
Well, thank you so much. That was a tough one to follow tonight.
It
so.
really was. So, Dave, I know that there were just a couple of questions that were presented
Sure.
as well, that if you wanted to give your introduction and then
Yep.
go over the questions, and then we'll open it up from there.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight to present the budget for the food services for 2017-2018. The funds requested in this budget reflect the costs associated with operating the 6 schools within the district. And some of the items that we have listed this year are purchase of additional equipment for the high school for some dispensing units, which would go next to the hot serving tables. A tabletop unit for the Mastrocola Elementary to be put next to the serving unit as well. And then some replacement carts for the high school and the upper elementary school. Some of the carts have been in use for over 25 years and are seeing a little wear and tear on them. So I had a equipment specialist come in and take a look at some of them, and he was amazed at the durability and the upkeep of the equipment that we had in the schools. And he said that was a very good sign that we take pride in the operation and take care of the equipment as well. So there was a couple of questions that was presented to me, and for Shannon, one of them was a general question on any major replacements that we need to consider for future budgets, such as heating units, coolers, etc., as they are approaching the end of their life. And we have done some of that in the past, and these are not, the ones that I have presented tonight are not quite major expenses, but there are some expense. We had done one maybe 10 years ago with a freezer unit at the high school, and that was something that was very necessary to replace. I do look at and take advice from my equipment repair people, and they again would say if there was anything that looks like it may need to be replaced at this point, we would take that under advisement and put that in the budgets in the future. But again, a good question. I think about that constantly. And we do also have surplus funds that we use in an emergency situation where if we needed to buy something, for instance, we had to purchase the lunch van last year, which we did talk about and have approved by the school board. So that is one of the other options that I do have. And as far as a question that Andy Schneider gave to me about the expended amount for the budgeted amount for food, differing from what is actually expended, is there a background as to why this is so much less, and lower cost of goods or reduced purchasing of lunch snacks? If the former, do we expect the trend to continue? And if the latter, do we plan to increase participation of students buying goods? Over the course of the last 5 years, we had a few things that developed. One was that we joined the buying group, the collaborative, which has given me considerable savings over the last couple of years, and it's kind of reflected in the budgeted amount that we had. I think in 2013 we were up to $685,000, so we've reduced it some. I kept it level funded this year again, anticipating that there may be a little bit of increase, and with student population, all that is relative to how much food is actually purchased. So again, good question. I looked at the snacks and the a la carte sales that we've had over the last few years. I think one of the questions was how the smart snacks had affected any extra sales that we had in the schools. And over the last 3 years, the a la carte sales have been pretty much consistent. So I didn't see a big drop off in a la carte sales. Actually, some of the items that we have that are called healthy snacks fit the guidelines, and students are happy with some of the choices. Some of them not so much happy, but they're missing some of the ones that they really liked. So, and that's, if there's any questions on those two that were presented to me, I'd be happy to answer any other questions. Yes.
I just had a question about how much money we have in emergency funds in case something did break, like a cart broke or a trash can or something. How much money do we have just in case?
I think.
Yeah, I'll answer that.
Sure.
It's not necessarily an emergency fund, it's a surplus, so it's used to fund programs for the food service program. There's around $100,000 left in there right now, which is pretty much on average what we've kind of tried to maintain it at. So,
Yep. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board? Seeing none, keep up the good work. I'm interested to see what next year will be with change in things going on in Washington. And
There's always changes going on.
yeah, so something tells me you might see some differences in plans, but you never know. So we'll see
hope
how it
it's
goes.
for the better.
So
All right.
thank you very much, and if we have any questions, we'll definitely call you back. But
Absolutely.
yours is pretty cut and dry, I have to say. So
Yeah.
feel very good about what you put forward. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
And now we're on to item number 6, which is the formal hearing on the maintenance budget for 2017-2018 with Tom Tussaud. And I invite you to the table. Welcome, Tom. And you'll be joined by Assistant Superintendent of Business, Matt Chevanel.
Thank you for having me here to discuss the upcoming school budget. I'd like to start off to point out 4 major things that's going to be happening in our next year budget. The first one would be the HVAC unit at the high school located over the CAF. It's been in the budget there for quite a while, and I'm very happy that we're moving forward with it at this point. The second item is a section, 8 sections of roof at Thornton's Ferry that we're going to be replacing. Third item would be replacement or the middle school sidewalk. And the fourth item would be the repair of the high school sidewalk. And from there, I think, Matt, would you like to start in with the...
Yeah.
Matt's going to give us a little slideshow to show you what we're talking about.
Matt's going to attempt to start the slideshow in a moment. View. Bottom right. Yeah, hold on here. Hold on. I'm going to boot this up all over again. Okay, it should be slideshow from beginning. There we go. Okay, Tom, we've got some pictures for you here tonight. This is the HVAC unit that Tom talked about. I figured we've gone through this once. It's budget season. Let's go through it again just to refresh everybody's memory. This is the unit that we had to have a part welded for recently.
Right. Yes.
And I think that's operational.
It is operating at this time. We've been going through, I'm going to say, the last 10 years of trying to repair this to keep it up and running. And it's certainly at its length of its lifetime. I can tell you a little story about what happened earlier last year during the winter time when I got a call that there was a major leak in the kitchen at the high school. Unfortunately, we went over there running, put the alarm because of, we know we did that roof the year before, thinking it might have been a roof issue. I found, when we got up on top of the roof, we found the door rusted off the unit. It's just falling apart. So that's basically the shape the unit is in. It's basically falling apart right in front of you, and that's what happened to us.
Yeah, and there are some pictures of that. And I don't know if you've covered this, or we want to cover this at this time.
We could talk about that. That's part of the bus loop that the idea was to do a patch to that, put that patch in the budget. We're also going to be covering that, I believe, in a warrant article.
The patch is in your operating budget.
The patch is in my budget,
Yes.
but the complete job is in a warrant article.
To be determined by the school board.
Oh, okay, to be determined.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the patch. This is the rest of what Tom was referring to. You've seen this. This is the bus loop in the entrance of the school. He also mentioned the sidewalks at Merrimack High School. That's the location of the sidewalk. It's right out front. Correct, Tom?
And those are the ones that we're going to do repairs to.
Okay. And then here's some close-up shots of the cracking in the sidewalk taken a little bit earlier before the snow hit. Also, in the paving, this is something else that was in your budget book, not in Tom's budget, but the paving of O'Gara Drive. And then this is something that's in Tom's budget, is the middle school sidewalk. That's the location of the sidewalk in basically the front of the school.
The front and on both ends.
And on both ends.
Yes.
And, the condition of that, there was a video that I had done, but I don't think you want to take a look at that over again. So that's it for this portion. I have something as far as major projects go for the asbestos removal, which is kind of new information. We had looked at this area as far as having the asbestos removed. On the first floor, there is a family consumer science room right now. And normally when a floor is put down, the floor is put down first and the cabinets go on top of it. The cabinets in the family consumer science room are, I think you would call that mid-century modern. I think I've heard the term used, sort of. They are delaminating. They are, doors are kind of rather unhinged and whatnot. And while we were thinking about doing the asbestos, it's our opinion that it would be prudent to rip these out too, because there's probably asbestos floor tiles underneath. And they're in such a state where, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, you can't really take them out without them falling apart. So they're going to be coming apart if we do indeed do that. And that's an addition of, what do we have for that on a price, Tom?
I think that's $45,000.
$45,000.
With cabinets and countertop.
Yeah. So that's something just for your consideration. And then, of course, this is another warrant article, Thornton's Ferry roof. So we just want to kind of give you kind of the locations of the sidewalks being under consideration, and then some more information as far as the family consumer science room where the asbestos was.
Before you go too far, you said warrant article for the Thornton's Ferry roof. That's
operating budget, sorry.
Just want to make sure we're
operating
clear.
budget, yeah.
On
Thornton's
record with
Ferry
that.
roof is in the operating budget.
Thank
That's
you.
correct. Do you want
So
to go
Matt,
over questions?
well, Matt, really quick, just
Yes.
that presentation you just showed, that's on the website, right?
Yes,
Yes,
this is online.
So people that want to see the pictures in the videos that you got embedded in there, they can go to the district website and they can see it all there.
Yes, if you go under the finance section and you click that link, it then it's the first hyperlink, and then the rest of it is the operating budget. So it's there for everybody to take a look at. Do you want to go through some questions?
Yes, I'd start.
Why don't I take the first question?
Okay.
This is from Vice Chairman Schneider. In the area of maintenance ground supplies, it lists the MHS track as one of the items being covered, and the budgeted amount is the same as last year. Does the existence of the new track result in any possible savings for track-related items in this budget item? Was not sure whether track repairs or other items were captured here or not. Okay. I'm going to give you a confusing answer. You have to turn to your budget book, and you have to go to page 10 in the maintenance budget. Page 10. Page 10. And when you look up at the top of the page, this is the account number you were referring to, correct? Okay. When you look at this is for ground supplies, and it's probably been worded this way since the beginning of time, or even before that. But under high school, there is the track is noted here, but this is a supply account, so it has nothing to do with repair of the track. So in the future, we need to take that out. So there's nothing in here with the track. Where the track comes into play is on page 4. Three, 4. And when you look at the bottom of the page, and Tom and I sat in my office for a good half hour
Yes.
wrestling with this one, trying
Yes.
to figure it out. like a couple of guys who should be knowing what they're doing, but it took us like a half hour to figure this out.
Glad I could give you
So-
something to fill your time.
Thank you. So on the bottom of page 4, maintenance ground repairs. You see in 15-16, there's an extra like $15,000 in that line when compared to the normal average 27,500. That was 15,000 that back in 15-16 the school board put in the operating budget to repair the track to get us through the 15-16 year.
Right, for a number of repairs before we could
Yeah,
replace the
There
track.
was some pretty major repairs on that one. So this is where all the track repair money is. And customarily, there's not that much. So then in the following year, 16-17, new track, it went back down to 27,500. Usually the track repairs are not as large as that. So having the new track, I can't, in talking with Tom, we can't really foresee that that would significantly reduce that number to any degree. So it's just two different locations. This is where the track repair is. And
So-
in years prior, it was.
So the bottom line is that the amount that you budgeted last year, because the track was part of the operating budget,
Yeah.
was already reduced,
Right.
taking into account. So that's why it's flat from last budget year to the proposed budget.
That's correct.
Okay,
So
thanks.
I hope I answered your question, because believe me, it was a little confusing when Tom kept saying, but there's 15,000 in there, and I had to look around through my old cut list sheets, and we finally found it. So go ahead, Tom, you can take the next one.
The next question was from Andy Snyder, and it read like this. The budget amount this year versus expended last year was dynamically different, largely due to a warmer winter. The budget amount for this upcoming year was less than the past year. Obviously, you're planning for a cold winter, but it is reduced in the budget amount due to the lower, is it reduced for the lower natural gas cost? Yes, it is. You were exactly right when you said, I'm sorry, I didn't read it completely, but that's the point where we took actual expenses and we got a better track on what exactly is happening. So what we base it off, it is 2 years of expenditures. So we took our last 2 years that we had natural gas expenditures and came with an average, and that's how we did it.
So essentially, as you get more experience in terms of what the costs are and things like that, you start to bring down and be more accurate in terms of your budgeting amount.
Correct.
Although it was hard because you had a really heavy winter and then a light winter, so you're trying to be conservative in terms of what you forecast.
Yeah, whenever you're trying to budget for utilities, it's both a function of weather and then items beyond your control. Like oil is not necessarily something you can lock in from, a multi-year agreement. With our electricity, we just locked in a pretty low rate per kilowatt for the next 4 years. That's the supply. But the distribution is something we can't lock in. That's covered by the Public Utilities Commission in the state of New Hampshire. And that rises up. And we try and get some information straight from talking to them as far as what that cost might be. So that kind of leads me into a question from Michael Thompson.
Correct.
That we had, you can go ahead and read it if you want.
Yes. How was the energy budget calculated? Can we get further details on electrical, gas budget line items? So I kind of went back, and normally when we walk through the budget, I normally walk through each individual, but let me start off with the way we calculated water and sewer was we took the highest amount expended in the last 2 years, and that's the number we used for water and sewer. Utilities, gas, we used the average of 2 years that we expended. The last 2 years expended, the average. Then we can go down to oil. We took the highest expended average, the highest expended line that we used in the last 2 years, the highest budget. It gets kind of tricky when we start talking about electricity, though. So I'm going to try to break it down the best I can. We have a number of schools that are large accounts and a number of schools that are small accounts. Large accounts are heavy electrical use. And the way it breaks down is the high school, Mastacola Upper Elementary School, and Mastacola Elementary School. Those three schools are all metered together. Even though they are separated and we have separate accounts for them, they all use primary metering, so that's called one large account. The middle school uses a lot of electricity. That's another large account. Two schools, Thornton's and Reed's, both are considered small account users. Why that is important is the way electricity is divided up is, one, it's the cost of electricity, and two, it's the transfer or what they're bringing to us with bringing the delivery cost. The way it works this year, we took the highest expended in the past 2 years, and then we had to do a little different. For the Muse, ME, in high school are at 22%, including the middle school, because that's another large account. In a smaller account, Thornton's Ferry and Reed's, their delivery charge is up by 17. So I know that's kind of a lot in putting it all together at one time, but that's how we came up with the energy, the electrical account.
Yeah, so that's what Tom was talking about, the delivery cost. So that's the part that we don't have control over, and the part that Tom was advised to put in there for 17-18 when he had a conversation with Eversource.
Yes.
The rest of it is bought by a third party, and that's fixed till 2021. So we try and manage this. The one good thing that we have a broker down in Massachusetts who's been taking care of us for a long time. When we locked in recently at a very good rate, we locked in for long term, and if, let's say, a couple of years into the long term deal, I'd call them up and say, you know something, I don't think this is quite a good deal anymore. Can we renegotiate? He'll go out to the market and renegotiate with us. So we've, as opposed to buying directly from Eversource, we've probably saved over the last year or so probably $100,000, I would say, by buying it from another broker, because everybody feeds the grid regardless. It's not like you're buying electricity just generated by Eversource in this area. It's generated by everybody, and the grid is just fed.
So the jump or the increase would be just due to the delivery cost.
So just to get back to natural gas for 1 second.
Yes.
So one of the reasons it's going to be interesting to see the trending of natural gas is one of the justifications we used as a board to put the natural gas conversions in was the significant savings that we would see over a period of time. Now, I know not for this budget year, we can't do it, but as we go forward, it'll be good to sort of compare what our run rate with oil was, then what our run rate is with natural gas, to see if we're realizing the savings that we thought. And I know you can't do that in an individual year because the prices fluctuate. So just in future looking, just look at the trending of before and then after over multiple years, just to sort of see whether we're on track or not with our.
Well, in kind of a general statement, I can say that when we did the initial natural gas conversion, the price of oil at that point in time was at an all-time high. So the payback on the NG conversion was roughly, I think, 3-4 years maybe. It's going to be longer than that since the price of oil has dropped. But long term, there is definitely a payback. We can give you some information on that after another year or so of experience, and we'll talk with Honeywell and get those numbers.
And certainly a lot of the benefits you might not see is because some of the older units, they were old. We had a hard time getting parts for them. They weren't running consistently well. So this energy changeover kind of helped us out in updating our equipment at the same time, so we're very kind of happy with it. Okay. I'm through all my questions. Do you have any other questions on the rest of it?
There's a whole
Can
other
you
page.
answer Shannon's questions? Do you have those in front of you, Tom?
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
I'm
know the
sorry.
answers
So, if
because
you'd like,
these
I
are
can give
ones,
you mine since
these
I
are
wrote
ones
them.
we covered. Why don't I read them to you and then you
Sure.
respond? Because we talked about these in session. MES cafeteria tables are listed on the cut list for $46,000. What does this do to your replacement plan for tables district-wide? Please also share the condition of the tables we are keeping. So we made a collective decision, I mean, with Emily Carter, Principal Carter, and us about not replacing those tables this year. We felt we could go a bit longer. So do you just want to talk about the maintenance record for those and then tables in general?
Those are tables, we started off at Reed's, and then we did Thornton's, and we were working our way over to Mastacola Elementary School. Those are tables that we certainly repair. We go through them once a year. We basically tighten them all, tighten everything up, lubricate it, make sure everything's working right. It still functions at this point just fine. I believe they're safe. We're not really having too many issues as far as the disrepair of them, but I think that they should be on the list, and I do feel that they can make another year.
Cinda?
Just a question regarding the tables. How old are they? I know when we replaced the ones at Reed's, I felt like they were like 40 years old or something like that. Or
They were really, Reed's and Thornton's were both older than these, and I believe these might be in 20s.
The 20s?
okay, that's
I
what I
think they're
wondered
old
if
enough
it
to
was-
drink, so.
Yeah.
So
At
it
least
wasn't.
21.
There's not as much of a gap
Yes.
Right.
as
Correct.
we had with the Thorntons and
Yeah,
Reed's
the other
tables.
ones were the real vintage, although
Yeah.
they are the same style, manufacturer, everything like that. These don't have an extra 10 years on them like the other ones did.
That's what I remembered
Yep.
from prior budgets, but thanks.
I think on that note, my question was, I know toward the end of the life, there were those you had to take the seats off because it couldn't be repaired, so you'd have like posts. Do you have a number of those as well?
No, everything is repaired on those. We
Okay,
can.
so you have 100% seating on that.
We have stuff. Yes, we have enough to do it.
So.
Where are we going? Reed's basketball hoops. Reed's Ferry basketball hoops on the cut list for $20,000. What is the condition of the equipment? I would say the condition of the equipment is a couple of them are bent. They have rust on them. They certainly need to be updated. I don't think it's critical to get them updated because we are playing in the elementary school outside with them. I don't want to say that not considering that their needs are also, but I believe that we can bend a couple of them back a little bit, believe it or not, but they warrant replacement at some point.
Marge?
So in addition, I think, not this year, but a year ago, we had hoops down and they were at a lesser rate. What we failed to put in is
Installation.
the installation, and that's where really it's some significant money. So if you're going to do it, you need to do them well, and you need to have them put in the ground for a long period of time. A subset question was, would the parent-teacher group be willing to help with this cost? Interestingly, up until the preschool program at Thornton's Ferry Elementary School, parent groups were really good about utilizing their money toward playgrounds. And I think now parent groups are interested in spending their money in other ways. They're much more interested in technology and that kind of thing. And the way I look at it is you can't fault them. These people work very, very hard for the good of the schools, and anything they purchase helps our overall cause. So I would say I want you to asked this of Kim when they come to the table, the elementary principal. She's prepared for it. But in my world, I think this is ours to do when all is said and done. And you will see it up here. It's just we had choices to make, and we felt of all the things that we're asking the board to do, this is one that could be put aside. Again, and remember, principals are a part of the discussion, so it's just not a matter of draw the line and you have nothing to say. When we sit as a team, we look at all things, and we felt that this could just be put out another year.
And I know a couple of years ago, we postponed uprights for the football field, so we painted them to have them last a little better for one more year. I know you've mentioned rust. Is it on the backboards?
Correct. We would probably do some maintenance of them over the summer since it's not going to be in the budget.
Great. So they're going to get some kind of upkeep to keep them as whole as we can.
Yes.
Great. Okay. That's good information. Thank you.
Okay. The next question, the halftime maintenance position. With this position, with the artificial turf impacted at all? And I would say that we probably have enough work to have a full-time position, but the artificial track would not really, it would certainly would help. I think there's probably less time in maintenance to the outside, to the artificial turf initially. Not that it's maintenance free. There are a couple machines that have to be cleaned and groomed every 80 hours, I believe it is. So it would certainly help in some ways, but it wouldn't take away the burden of the part-time person. Would still be beneficial, because a lot of the other things that this part-time person would do besides the artificial turf is during the winter when we're plowing, making sure sidewalks and stuff are clean in the day. Also, when we're cutting grass and stuff, we're going to be addressing the outside area, the outer schools more than we do now. Unfortunately, sometimes we're not getting to the outer schools. We're not getting to Thorntons and Reeds as often as we should. We know that. We certainly make every effort to get to those areas. I've heard from people also talking about a parade before the outside of Muse. We make every attempt that we can to make sure the outside and grounds is as nice as we can for our community. There are certainly times we fall short due to staffing. So I would think that a half-time position would certainly impact the maintenance staff in a positive way. Do I think circling back again, do I think the artificial turf would help us? I think it would save us a little time during the sports season. But overall, we certainly could use that person and maybe a little more to round out our staff.
Okay. And I think there's one more.
Oh, one more. The $38,000 in the bus loop, that's the bus loop that we saw during Matt's slide session. It looks to be maintained, should be a warrant article, not passed for paving, which will be put in the vote. It's $234,174. I want to be sure this classification is cased in the question and would be in the bus loop.
Yeah, I think what you want to get at is, there is 38,000 in the operating budget for bus loop paving, and then there'd be, let's say if the board chooses to do a warrant article, that would be for bus loop paving also, and it kind of looks like you're doing it twice, but you're not going to be doing it twice, because the warrant article, it's my understanding, would be a net of 196 or something, and then take the money from the operating budget, combine it with the warrant article, and do the whole project.
Cinda?
Okay, so just so I understand, if I recall correctly from our last meeting, we talked about the critical part of the bus loop being in the operating budget.
Yes.
And then the rest is a warrant. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Basically, okay.
Correct.
Thanks.
And that's exactly how it's positioned. So if you look in the maintenance budget, you'll see $38,000. That's for the patch that was requested. It sits there. And then in the text, where I talk to you about possible warrant articles, I suggest that you look at the loop for $196,174. So I split it on purpose.
No, perfect, thanks.
Yeah.
Excellent.
If I could jump back to roof, just because there was a question in a previous meeting, and I believe it was from Ms. Barnes. She asked if at today's, today, how many, what amount of the roof is off warranty? And right now it is sitting at 47.5. If we do Thornton's Ferry, that number will come down to 42.5. So I just wanted to bring it up. Doing Thornton's Ferry would bring our amount of roof that is not in the, is off warranty.
Is that district-wide?
District-wide, yes.
So the goal is, when all is said and done, how much would we have to cover without, if something goes awry, so. And how much exposure do we have? And it's 42.5% of our roofs. We basically would have to respond if something came.
That's the amount that will be off warranty after we complete Thornton's Ferry. And actually, you could look back, if you looked 8 years ago, that number was somewhere around 71%. So there's been a lot of work been done on that area.
And I think that's the goal as we're wrapping up and you look at our CIP, and that's where I really want to kind of fold it back in, is by having these roofs done, and because they are out of warranty, they are worn, and they are in need of repair, there will be a break. And with that break, we will have assurances through warranties that there won't be an exposure to the taxpayer. I think that's really important as we make these decisions, that we're looking at the exposure to the taxpayer for things that aren't covered. And that's always a concern of ours, and we talk about emergency funds and everything else, and that those are things that come to mind for us, especially after Superstorm Sandy, where things happened out of our control and we had to respond with some of it insured, and obviously other things were, you know, it became an expense we weren't feeling like taking on, but had no choice. So just things to think about. So those are my questions. Marge.
So I just want to ask, before Tom departs, because the maintenance budget, we've discussed a lot. We've talked in the summer when we were doing the CIP, and we've continued to talk a lot, and we want our public to have true knowledge and appreciation for the projects that we're putting forward. So I just want to ask, because we're going to be up against holidays, the only other time, technically, that Tom would come before you would be January 10th. So I just want to ask, is there any maintenance item that we're talking about or putting forward that you want more information about? I mean, we clearly had not talked at all about the cabinets before. That tonight is the first time of doing that, and Matt took the pictures so that you could see what we were talking about. But we just want to gather any information that you might need rather than springing on you at the end. So.
Andy?
So yeah, that's a good point, because the countertops and the cabinets are in the cut list.
They're in the cut list. We had them there as we were going through it, and then it's like we had an epiphany. Tom and Matt and I were saying, well, you know what? There is a good chance that there could be some asbestos that needs to be removed, and why wouldn't we look at combining this in a total project which adds up to $310,000? But we also wanted to keep it on the cut list because it sat there for the last 2 or 3 years. You might choose to just do the asbestos abatement and not do the cabinets, and they would still need to sit on the cut list as something to do.
Right, but the reason I want to ask the question, because when Matt was talking, he said that if we're going to do the asbestos abatement, and I know we've talked to this board about making that a warrant article, so if it gets funded, we do the abatement. To do it right, we ought to remove the cabinets, to remove the asbestos underneath them. If we do that, but we don't budget to replace the cabinets, we have no family consumer science infrastructure for the following year, unless we replace the cabinets, tie it together. That's what I'm saying there.
The warrant article would
it's like two bills in Congress that you marry together. You have to, if you're going to do the asbestos abatement, and replace or do underneath the cabinets, but the cabinets can't be put back. Therefore, you have to build the cabinets into that effort to do it right.
So the warrant article would be comprehensive of the abatement and the
And the
cabinetry.
replacement of the cabinets, right.
Yeah. And we have done that before when we did an asbestos abatement, 10, 12 years ago maybe, where the science rooms on the first floor, I remember you leading a tour in the high school where we combined the asbestos abatement in those rooms and hallways, I believe, with the replacement of the cabinets that were in the science rooms too. So we did that as one project and worded it such. So we would probably look towards that wording from years gone by and resurrect it and see what it looks
Go
like.
to the archives.
In the archives.
Did you have another question on that?
On that particular thing, I was just going to say, I think that did come up, like at our last meeting, where we talked about the combination of it, that it made sense, and it does to me, to put them together. I have another question.
Sure, continue.
First of all, a couple of comments. What I like that you do with your budget is I like how you break things out, even for the maintenance of the vehicles, the way that you itemize it, to give us an idea of the maintenance by vehicle. I mean, I would think that you have to do that to kind of roll it all up anyways, but I like that you put it in the budget because it helps me understand what these dollar amounts go for when you start to see it broken down. So I wanted to thank you for that, as well as you did it in the contracted services piece too. So thank you again. It just helps me understand the budget and the way it all kind of rolls up. And I've been working on the budget for the last several years, and you're always really good about breaking that out like that. A question that I had was around the camera maintenance and the inside cameras at the middle school. So together, those two items are about $28,000. And I wondered if you could just give me some insights as to kind of where we are with the cameras. Where, are they all at the high school, or are they different places, or is there going to be more camera maintenance and more cameras installed down the road? And as technology becomes more and more available, will we start to see that line item actually go down? Because you see like a lot of residences have cameras now and things like that. So I wonder if you could just talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay. We start off with, we have cameras at all schools on the exterior. So they have enough to cover the size of their buildings. And we do a pretty good job at covering all the exterior parts of all the buildings. The high school has the greatest number of interior cameras. There's actually two schools, I would say the high school and the middle school, that has cameras interior. The high school, we pretty much cover almost every hallway, where the middle school just covers, I'm going to say, probably 6 major hallways, or 6 sections of the hallways in the cafeteria. At Thornton's, Reed's, and ME, what we're looking at there, and Massacola Elementary School, we have one camera on the interior, but it's facing the front door. So when somebody walks through the front door, the people in the office can see who's walking into the building, and we have a record of who walks in and out of our building. What we attempted to do, is what our thought is to add some cameras in the hallways that we do not cover at the middle school. Overall, I think we want to add 10, but we decided to use 5 this year and 5 probably for next year. And I think we're going to have to kind of evaluate as we go on each year where we think we can get the best use of them. The large part of this camera, I think it's $24,000 or so, part of it is for camera maintenance. Camera maintenance and swipe maintenance. What that does is we have a vendor on call. If all of a sudden camera 13 is not working at the high school, we call them up, they respond, they repair it, replace it if they have to. Also with the recording equipment, the DVRs, that's also, if we have an issue, we call them up, they either repair the unit or they replace it and that's what we expect. We get full coverage. So if one day we have 2 cameras down at the high school, I call them, they come in to fix it. If in 2 weeks we have a problem at Master Cole Elementary School on the outside, I call them, they come in to fix it, and we basically just have all our upfront costs, so we don't say, okay, we have to pay for that, we have to pay for that. Everything's included. Also on the camera maintenance, once a year they come in, take the cameras apart, they clean them out, make sure they're focused, clean, and put back together. So quite a bit of stuff happens there. Also, some of the swipe units that big badge swipe things that we use now on the outdoors, if something goes wrong with that, we make a phone call and say, the swipe technology's not working, and they come in, they troubleshoot it, and they repair it.
How often do we as a district have to go back and look at those videos or go back in time or?
I believe it would be more often than someone would think. I would say the high school probably uses it every single week. The middle school, probably the same. And I think it runs. You know, there's could be, and I know there's some weeks, the high school could be looking 3 or 4 times in the course of 1 week, and they might go 2 weeks without.
And I just don't know, so that's why I'm asking.
I get calls sometimes from Thornton's or Reed's. They use it sometimes to monitor what's going on outside. Do we have somebody out on the playground? They can see in the office, especially the outbuildings, Thornton's, Reed's. Hey, do we have somebody out there that shouldn't be there? They look. Or, hey, did a bus go around or did the car go around? Why are they there? And we have some kind of a log to look back. It's used quite often.
It also has been I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The camera system at the high school and the Reeds and all the schools have been a big deterrent as far as vandalism goes. We had one year where it was upwards of around $10,000 worth of glass we were replacing. One of the incidents where Reed's Ferry front doors were totally smashed in, and there was a cinder block thrown through the main office in the high school.
Mhm.
Remember that one? It broke one of the administrative assistant's desks when it landed. So since we put in those security cameras, I'd say the amount of vandalism has declined vastly, to the point of I don't recall the last time I hear Tom saying that somebody had done something at some point in time. So it has almost, I don't want to say it's paid for itself, but it's had us avoid some cost and some real inconvenience, you know, especially in these inclement weather days.
I really want you to ask the same question, Cinda, of the middle school administration, the high school administration. If you forget it, I'll make sure of it, because they would consider this to be one of the most valuable tools they have in dealing with disciplinary cases. Sometimes very little has to be said. All you have to do is just show the tape, and it contains exactly what you need, because it's all about gathering evidence before you make any move. And so I think to an administrator, they would just say it's one of the most significant purchases that the board has made on their behalf.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I just don't know. I see the totals, I add them up, and I wonder.
And I think another really good part of this is, as we move on, technology changes. When they replace a camera, it's much better camera than we had initially, because technology goes, the prices come down. So for the same amount, we're buying a much better camera. In the beginning, I think the basic cameras, we could see a figure going in. Now you can definitely see who it is going in. So I think it's been a big improvement for us as we move on. Improving our cameras are great for us.
And that was kind of the other part of my question too, because I think we all know technology gets better as time goes on, and a lot of times those price points sometimes start to drop to get the same quality and things like that. So
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, when we first started this, we started with analog cameras that could have the potential to switch over to IP cameras. When the cost of the IP cameras came down, because back when we started, the IP cameras were very, very expensive to put in a system. I mean, we put in this system, I think, for a couple $100,000, and we had one quote for almost $1 million to do it because it wasn't an analog system. I remember that very clearly. But now when we go to replace a camera, we replace it with an IP camera that can be pan, tilt, zoom, whatever it is, and the cost has just come down as the technology has gotten a lot better over the years. Price has gone way down. And some of the stuff we can do with the newer cameras, the clarity and the amount of zoom you get in them is pretty incredible.
And then just a curiosity question. It's regarding the area carpets for the kindergarten classrooms in the 3 elementary schools. I'm trying to remember back when we did the library carpets, was that under the elementary, was that under Reed's budget, not maintenance? Not that it matters, it all rolls up to the same budget, but I'm just curious what.
For the library, it's under the maintenance budget.
It was under the maintenance one?
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right.
And these carpets, of course, they have to have certifications. They have to be the right carpets. Sometimes people will look at the line and say, God, that looks like a lot of money for a carpet, but it's not like we can go down to a big box store and buy a carpet. They have to have certifications. The fire department is very on that. They want to make sure everything's safe and right. So it does cost a little bit more to buy a carpet for a school than it would for somebody's house.
And at that age group, too, I would imagine there's a lot of time they spend in circles and, kind of closer to the carpet than as they get in the older grades.
Well, it's
Where
like
you want things that can prevent allergens and,
in talking with the elementary school principals, when you have to, buy new carpets and whatnot, it really is an integral part of their instructional strategies to have them sit in small groups. I mean, they're little people, and if I was a teacher there, I could sit and get down on the floor, but I would definitely need some help getting back up after around 10 minutes. So I don't know how some of the teachers do it, but it is a great way of engaging all the kids, and they are used every time, every single day, multiple times a day, as an instructional kind of environmental kind of strategy and tool. So they're really nice to have.
Any other questions? The one thing that seemed to get a lot of traction in this discussion was the cameras. And I think, strategically it's something that as a board, it's definitely not for budget season, but to get an overall idea of, where we're using cameras, how many, which building, just to get kind of an overall, I think it'd be great for a future board meeting. But, as I'm on Greater Woods and I have been for a number of years, the one thing we talk about is how the motorized vehicles come along the soccer field. Can we catch that kind of thing on camera so we can start reporting into the police department, with good quality, so we can start looking at trends of those kind of things that were happening. Because I know we had vandalism at the shed a couple times too in that area. So, and then as a broken record for this board, we talk about voting and where are those cameras, and especially we didn't talk a lot about the interior of the upper elementary school. Well, do we have cameras that would, go where the voters shouldn't be going? So, like, as they would enter into restricted spaces, will we have cameras set up there? So, and if we don't, should we? So, as a board, we can have a strategic discussion to make sure that we're supporting things that we, supporting the expectations, I think, that we set at the table as well. So, but I think a bigger question that's outside the budget season. So.
It's one thing we're good at is maps. We have maps of all the locations and where they point and everything like that. So that's something we could have a discussion about.
Excellent.
So you can know the current lay of the land.
I think it's good for parents as well, so they know what we're doing for security, and good for students, so they know if, don't bother doing it because you're going to get caught anyway. So just so here's a little reminder at one of our board meetings. So I think long term it's a good strategic discussion. So, are there any other questions of maintenance? Well, we're gonna, I guess, possibly see you again. I know that warrant articles may require some discussion if we need you to come back. We'll let you know if it's something that Matt can handle. I'm sure, he's done quite a bit, with you over the years, and he might be able to just take it on, but a lot of our warrant article discussion definitely is involving supporting that department, so we might be seeing you back on, that would be the 10th at that point? The 10th of January, but if it's something that's easily self-explanatory, then we can work with Matt, but it's definitely going to be a lot about your budget to get more done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Excellent. And on to item number 7, which is the dissemination of proposed New Hampshire School Board Association resolutions. In your packets, you received the resolutions that will be coming before the Delegate Assembly on January 21st. It's a Saturday from 10 to 3. Naomi will be our delegate. Cinda is our alternate, and registrations have been taken care of. I cannot be the delegate, but I will be there as an officer of the NHSBA. And what we have done in prior years is we asked that at the next, it'll be our next meeting, so the meeting before the Delegate Assembly, we will go over any questions that might be had. There's some years there were none, just, as suggested, but, follow the suggestions of the NHSBA Board of Directors. Other times there was questioning on why that wasn't supported, and we didn't agree as a board that it shouldn't have been supported. So if there's any questions or comments about the resolutions as they're recommended by the NHSBA, that's how they'll be managed at the meeting. So if there's any guidance we want to give that might be alternate to what is being proposed, we should definitely vet it at our next meeting so that Naomi has a good idea of where we as a board see the proposals. And from there, she would work as our mouthpiece as a district, so as our delegate. So if there are any questions or comments, we'll have it for next board meeting. If we like it as written, then we will have her just support as written, which has also happened a number of years. If there are any questions, you can let me know. I've been to a number of these, obviously. I think every year I've been on the board, so I can give you some delegate tips. And afterward we'll go over how it went. So thank you, Naomi, for representing us. And hopefully it'll be done before kickoff that day because there's a playoff weekend. But something tells me the Dolphins might be in it. But we'll see how it goes. Don't laugh, Matt. We're the 6th slot right now. And so we're on to item number 8, which is the approval of the December 5th, 2016 minutes. Do I have a motion to accept? Made by Andy. Do I have a second? Seconded by Cinda. Are there any adjustments to the minutes? Cinda?
On page 5, line number 237 and 238, it states, Board Member Guayumi noted that she is in favor of building up the capital reserve fund and would like to see some amount either in this year's budget request or as a warrant article. Specifically, what I believe I said was as a warrant article, because you cannot put capital reserve funds in the operating budget.
Excellent. Are there any other edits? Seeing none, we'll put the minutes to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. The motion carries 4-0-0. On to item number 9, which is the acceptance of gifts and grants under $5,000 with Matt.
Thank you. The first one we have this evening is to James Mastercoler Upper Elementary School in the amount of $450 from School Board Member Michael Thompson to purchase a table tennis table for the upper elementary school. We appreciate that greatly, and I know the PE teacher has been wanting one of those for quite some time. The next one we have is Thornton's Ferry Elementary School from Shaw's Supermarket. It's part of the We Love Our Schools program. It's going to be used to support the school community relations account, and it's in the amount of $400. And we appreciate the generous donation by Shaw's and by Board Member Thompson.
Thank you, Matt. Do I have a motion to accept the gifts and grants made by Cinda?
I move that we accept the gifts as presented and thank with our gratitude.
Do I have a second? seconded by Naomi. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. The motion carries 4-0-0. Sorry about that. And Marge will be filling in for an under the weather mark for number 10, the consent agenda.
So under the consent tonight, we have the approval of the service animals policy.
Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Andy?
I move we accept the consent agenda around the service animal policies as we reviewed over the past few weeks.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Naomi. Got her by a hair. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. The motion carries 4-0-0. Wow. Item number 11 is correspondence. Is there any correspondence to come before the board? Seeing none. Oh, wait, we have a late entry.
You're moving too fast. I received an email from a constituent about a new organization in the state that covers school board topics. So I will share that with the rest of the board.
Thank you. And B, comments. Are there comments to come before the board? Marge?
I have 2 comments tonight. The first one, I want to stress to our public that we are going to be in session on Monday, January 2nd. There has been, I think, some confusion about that because some systems have that day off. You recall that when we were deliberating about the calendar, one of the things that we needed to do was to take November 8th as a day for the election, and therefore we were trying to do an offset. So we will be in school on January 2nd, and we will send home a notice to that effect. But I thought it was also important to just state it because we've had a couple of phone calls.
And if I recall, that was the preference of the parents too, right? We went with the parental, when we did the survey. That came out as a preference.
And I think probably what happens is when you're doing a calendar a year out, it seems to make all kinds of sense. And then comes the time, and perhaps you have it off from work, and it's like, oh gosh, I wish my child was home that day. And so I think from the time you do a survey to the time that we actually enter the time are just 2 different things. So I'm just wanting to clarify it because I think it's important. But you're absolutely right. Our public at the time thought that was a wise thought.
Yeah.
And then the second announcement I have, I start off with an apology to Andy because when I was doing my my school budget message to all of you, and I hit the very end to talk about just what was the amount of our approved budget. I gave you a rendering that was incomplete. So you have in front of you tonight a revised page, which I would like you to put into your budget book because it is the actual amount. And for the record, I thought I would do that part once again. So this is my part 2 here. So the 2017-2018 proposed administrative budget is $73,708,057. The 2016-2017 approved operating budget was, or is, $72,292,098. The difference between those two is $1,415,959. The default, the 2017-2018 default budget, which is required by statute, is $73,738,838. That proposed administrative budget is $30,781 less than the default budget. So the reason that the change needs to be made is that the original proposed administrative budget included only the general fund operating budget. It did not include food service and federal funds. When you put that combination together, that's how you get the $73,708,057. So that is the amount that we need to be working from.
Andy?
And just to clarify, and Marge, thanks for doing this, is because if you look at previous year's stated budgets for our review, those budgets always included those 2 other items. This year, the reason it caught me off guard is it seemed lower, and then Matt explained to me that it didn't include those items. So that's, I always try to do apples and apples if you can do it that way. So.
It's like when you were when I was in the moment, I wasn't putting it together. So when I got in my own zone, clearly, I saw it. So we just need to make the change, and I will do the same thing with the budget committee, so everyone starts from the same reference point.
And that's also up on the website, correct? The amended documentation.
It will be.
Okay, thank you. Important. So is there any new, I guess, are there any other comments? Seeing none, is there any new business to come before the board? Seeing none, committee reports, number 13, are there committee reports? Andy?
So Cindy and I, we met, Merrimack Safeguard met on, God, when was it? December 8th. There, it's good to have an agenda here in front of us. The large part of what we talked about at the event, at the meeting, was there's going to be a community forum that's going to occur on January 19th, which is a Thursday night. It's going to be at the John O'Leary Adult Community Center. It's going to be a community-wide forum where there's going to be a panel to talk about different aspects. Like there's going to be one of a police person going to present. Julie DeLuca from the schools will present. We'll have somebody from Faith and Youth. Jen DeFelice will do that, and then Dawn Shepard from the Chamber of Commerce is going to present. And the idea is to start communications and conversations between all the different bodies within the community around communication, to be able to talk about health and the drugs, just all the things that are affecting us as a community, to sort of create that conversation as a starting point, because we talk a lot about schools being involved, like the risk use behavior survey, some issues, but the conversation needs to not only happen at the school level, but at the whole community level. So bringing business together, police, faith, to start having those conversations is going to happen. So, so I know that Mark McLaughlin and the chief, Mark Doyle, are going to be sort of emceeing this, sort of driving it. They requested that myself from the business sector, not from school board, business sector, as well as Finley Rothaus from local government, to sort of kick off the discussion. So we'll be able to help drive the conversation. But it's really going to be tables talking about resources available to parents and students and residents and anybody that lives in Merrimack to be able to learn more about it. So that event is going to happen on the 19th. We'll have more details about it as we get closer, but that was the main topic of discussion for the meeting that we had that night. So I don't know if you had any.
Yeah, it was a really good meeting. I was really excited when we left. And I think the other thing that you didn't mention is there was a lot of conversation about the ideas about how we can continue to bring topics to the community, into the schools as well. How to talk to your kids about drugs, some different topics that would be of interest to a lot of people in the community and the public. So I think there's some really good momentum going there, and I'm really excited for this event, which is just around the corner actually in January. So
it is at the resource tables will open at 6 o'clock on the 19th of January, and then the conversation will begin at 6:30. So we'll make it a little bit early so everybody can get out by 8 o'clock because it's sort of dark in winter. So,
Are there any other committee reports? I do have one. On Wednesday, December 7th, the Healthcare Cost Containment Committee met. There will be a wellness day. Actually, I believe it's the same day, the 17th of January to Thursday. And essentially, it's for our staff to find the resources both through Health Trust and through local organizations, companies that will be coming in with booths as well to talk about wellness and wellness resources that are right in their backyard. And at the meeting, we also went over what we went over a few weeks ago, which is the guaranteed maximum rate for insurance and how that's calculated and what that means. And also, they have a new rep coming to our meetings, which is Ashley Brigham, and she is a nutritionist by trade. And one of the interesting things she shared with us was when you think about those Cliff bars and those Kind bars, what are the real sugars in them, what are the real ingredients, what's truly healthy, and what you need for different things, And so she kind of gave like an analysis based on everything from the cost of them so you're more likely to buy if they're more affordable, and then what the nutritional deliveries are, the pros and cons of each of the different ones. So informed purchasing when you're buying things of nutritional value. And, she'll even, I'm sure, go over things that are bad for you and how bad they really are. So, because I'm sure she has the data. She was very knowledgeable of that, and I think that she's going to bring a lot to the committee as far as that's concerned. And I do find that group is definitely engaged in sharing, wellness tips with the staff, that they walk the walk, and that's why they can really, talk the talk in their buildings. So, of course, that's, when we talk about wellness and healthcare, it's going to contain our costs just by making those better decisions. And hopefully by being on the committee, I'll pick up a couple tips myself, because the new year is coming. So, but it's Christmas cookie season. Don't ask me this week. Other than that, is a great meeting. And then we have some goals for registering your health assessments. That they try to get health assessments of staff to kind of get an idea of where they're at and where they're going. So helps us to see where this initiative is going. So I think that's about what we covered. And the next meeting will be in January, the first Wednesday in January. So from there, I think we are good for committee reports. The Greater Woods Committee did not meet in December, so we are good to go there. That will close committee reports, and then we're on to item number 14, which is public comments on agenda items. Putting a lot of pressure on one person in the room, and he is declining. So we are good. So we are on to 15, signing the manifest, and then I would like to entertain a motion to go into non-public session per RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, sections A, B, and C. Moved by Andy. Do I have a second? Seconded by Cinda. A roll call vote is required. Naomi, how do you vote?
In favor?
Cinda?
In favor.
Andy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. The motion carries 4-0. Thank you and good night.